So, my Eclipse has a wiring problem. And it's down right now. But it's really got a wiring problem now. I've got the dash out. I'm tracing every wire under that dash. Yeah. Look at this mess. Thought I had it fixed, but it didn't. Did it again. Continuously blows fuse number 9. I took the carpet out. Look at that. I took the carpet out. I cleaned it while I was searching for the wire. And Appalachian Mountains, track dirt and stuff. Yeah. Nothing you can do about it, you know. Alright. Let me get back to troubleshooting. Wire chasing. So, it's been a week or more. I've been working on this car trying to find this electrical problem. There's a lot of people have this problem, but there's no solutions. No one's found what the problem is. Well, if you look right down in there, I think I found what the problem is. Okay, so this right there, that right there, that's, what? Why have I got a shadow? Alright. How am I casting a shadow? Okay, so that's where my starter mounts to the transmission. Now look at this. My starter's about to fall off, people. I'm wondering if that might have anything to do with it. I'm going to tighten her down and see. Alright. I'll let you know the results. Okay. I'm still working on this Eclipse. As you know, it kept blowing fuse number 9. And I started chasing the wire to fuse number 9 and went inside. So, as you can see, I took out the whole dash. Checked all the wiring there, or the connectors and stuff. That didn't fix it, but it ran. So, I thought that fixed it. And then, I disconnected all the connectors to all the sensors on the motor. And reconnect them, and that seemed to fix it, but it didn't. Then I saw that the starter down here was loose. Let's see if we can get in there and see that. It's on the earlier part of this. So I tightened the starter up. That seemed to have fixed it. And then I drove it down to the end of the driveway. It blew the fuse again. So I found a wire right here that was rubbing against this transmission dipstick, and I taped that up real good, and that seemed to fix it, but it didn't. I got halfway to town, about like 12 miles, and it died. And luckily, old country boy come along with the truck and the chain, and he hauled me to the top of the mountain, and then I coasted down to the yard. Well, so I made this little tool, which is, you know, a fused link. Put a connector stuck down in there. I didn't have the fuses to play with, so what I did is I took some wire. I took 2 little strands and wound them together, and then just wrap it around the arm of the fuse. Both arms, just making sure only 2 strands you know, that are touching so that they can burn like a regular fuse. And that's been like a major tool in this process. I've had the fuse box apart. I took it apart. I moved fuse 9 from that location there over to this location. I switched out all these relays. There's 3 relays in here, so I just switched them all around. That didn't fix it. Okay, so today I took every connector to every sensor loose on this thing. And I brought the wiring bundle all the way back around to here. I just started tearing the wiring harness apart. And so now I think I found the issue. I got to tape all of it back up. But right here, you can see wire. There's a burn in that wire right there. And this is the main harness. It goes to your injectors, to your MAF sensor, your fuel injections, your throttle body, all the way around to your cam sensor. Well, it does go to the cam sensor, but it goes to the crank sensor, the air conditioner motor, or air conditioner compressor, and the power steering pump. I tore every one of these I've inspected. I started taping some of them back up. But I think that's about as far as I'm going to go with this. If I continue to have the problem, right there is the next starting point. And that goes over to the alternator and one of your temperature sensors for your cooling. So if that's not the problem, if this fixes a problem, I'm still going to fix that because that will be a problem. This right here, there's no protector of any sort. It's just thin wiring tape around it. So I think I'm going to take like that old Clorox jug over there and cut a piece off of that and wrap it and zip tie it and then tape it. That should protect it. Alright, I'll let you know what the results are. Okay, for the conclusion of the 2002 Mitsubishi Eclipse fuse number 9 blowing, I've resolved the issue. So this is what I did. I showed you in an earlier part of the video that this wiring harness right there with the tape on it, that one, right up underneath this hose, there's a plastic mounting brace bracket. And it bolts to the engine, the bracket on the engine. That had broken, and it allowed the wires to chafe up against the side of the bracket, and which caused a grounding short to one of the main red wires. So that solved that issue. But then the alternator wasn't working. So I took the alternator off, which is over here. I took it over to Advanced Auto and I had them test the alternator. The belt was kind of loose. That belt down there, serpentine belt, it was loose because it had stretched. So I got a new belt, put a new belt on it. But the alternator was good. I pulled the whole wiring harness for the alternator like I'd spoken about earlier. I still got some taping to do on that. I'm not going to do it right now. You can see that right down there. I need to tape that up. And it comes up to here. And this has to be taped. I've got some of this new plastic wrap stuff. I'm just so tired of working on this thing. It's taken me 3 weeks to resolve this issue. But right here, this is one issue that can cause your alternator not to work. Right underneath this, now inside here is relays, nothing but relays, 3 relays. Underneath it, now the alternator has nothing to do with that, the wiring, because the wiring is just held on the bottom. There's a bracket that this cannon plug hooks to. And I heard one guy refer to it as a relay. That's not a relay. It's just a regular connector. So I pulled that and I chased those wires. If that's disconnected, your alternator will not work. If you're working around your fuel box and fuse box, excuse me, and your alternator all of a sudden doesn't work, then check this. This is one of the first things to check because you may have disconnected it. So I ensured that this was plugged in and the alternator still wasn't charging. So either it was the belt. Oh, there's one other thing. I still got on these things, these dashboards are really flimsy. I haven't been able to find one dashboard for these cars that hasn't been smashed or crushed. And it's cracked all to pieces. So, kind of taking it out did it even worse. But I'm going to fiberglass it back together. So, all I did is I took my instrument cluster and I've got it strung here until I get the dash fiberglass back together and get that in. But you got to ensure that this is plugged up. If this is not plugged up, it will not charge. It will not charge. So if you're working on the dash and you unplug any of your Marconi lights, your instrument lights to this, it will not charge. So ensure that you got that plugged up, and then that next connection is out there underneath the fuse box, that little relay section. That, and then you just do a test. If those are connected, do a test, from your negative to, all right, this is your, this is the cables that actually put the charge back to this sucker. And they come up to this bolt. Just check, make sure you got, I had like 14 volts coming through it. After I plugged the Marconi lights up, I wiggled this, I cleaned the leads over at the connector over at the alternator, and I put a new belt on it. Who knows, it could have been a loose belt, but I do know that it could have been that instrument cluster not plugged back in good. So that should resolve fuse number 9 issue. Just check anywhere you got like a little, you got a plastic bracket right in here, and they will crack, but this one will definitely crack underneath here. And just check for a short there for that fuse number 9 thing. Don't bother with going under the dash unless you worked under the dash, which I went under the dash because I trying to fix the stereo, and I smelled a wire burn, so I thought maybe something under the dash had shorted with something with a wire that had something to do with the instrument cluster. And then I actually thought about it, and that is an engine fuse. So that goes to all your engine components, your coils, your fuel injectors, your cam sensor. It comes over that harness, it connects to you. This is your crank sensor. You might want to check this too. If you've had to replace like a timing belt or anything, make sure that this connector is good and that all the leads are good. I even chased it down to this wire and harness goes to the power steering pump and your air conditioning pump. And then all your little sensors on your intake and your throttle body is included in that whole wire bundle. It may look like it's a pain to take apart, but it's really not. You just disconnect, and there's a couple of holders, maybe some 10mm bolts you got to take loose. You definitely got to pull this out. I pulled this out, this off. The MAF sensor, it doesn't connect to that harness. It connects in at another point. But I pulled this, I pulled the air box, the fuse box, the battery, this plate, 4 bolts, I believe, hold your battery plate in there. And then just disconnect that and pull this thing completely out. Man, I forgot to tighten those up. All excited about finally getting it running. And I've driven it for like 4 or 5 days now with no issue. So this hose doesn't like to come off, so I just lay this off to the side. Don't need to be breaking no little nozzle mount or anything like that. So yeah, I didn't want to pull that. That'd probably break out. So I just sat it off to the side. I have had it loose once when I was doing a complete tune-up on it. Okay, so yeah, that harness also goes to your O2 sensors. So you might want to check those too. If the fuse 9 blows, most likely it's going to be one of your engine sensors wiring shortened somewhere. Okay, so we're done. Mission accomplished. Thank you. So hopefully this little tutorial helped you out, man. Maybe you get it resolved in a day or two, but it's taken me 3 weeks, and I've had every bundle opened up, wiring bundle on that car. Now I was ready to push it over in the river, man. Yeah. All right. Thanks.